CIA or something come on the TV and says we've made contact with the aliens. And fucking blobby come on.
Just kicking shit.
Yeah. He would just be running about absorbing everybody who wasn't vaccinated or something. You know? Welcome to Stephen's Studio Soirée. I have with me today Ali Tod. What a difference a day makes, you know.
Yeah.
We were down at the Crescent Arts Centre
Yep.
as part of the Belfast Guitar Festival. And who were the artists? We had Susie Coyle and Colin Smith, and who's the lady that opened?
Caroline Langendijk from the Netherlands.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a great evening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those sort of venues where it would lend itself more to a kind of a recital type vibe, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's more the more raucous stuff, it's easier when people are all when people are all lubricated and they jump up and you can
Aye,
really
like if
get
you're in
into
a bar or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to broadcast it all, I would
Mhm.
imagine,
Yeah, it's kind of nice though having those settings where it's like cabaret seating and everyone's like
Yeah.
they know the purpose that they're going there for. That's like because guitar is a lot of the stuff that I certainly write and a lot of other just instrumental guitarists write is supposed to be listened to rather than like talked over in a bar or a restaurant or danced to like a band or whatever. It's certainly, I mean, my stuff is energetic, but it's to be listened to and live, like, because fingerstyle players, I'm not a fingerstyle player, but we do so much visual stuff as well. It's better to see it and take time to appreciate it and listen to what's happening. So I kind of love the Crescent Art Centre. The sound is always amazing and the backdrop's really cool and it's just the perfect vibe for what I'm after when I play. So
that's great. Like I see what you mean with the visual aspect, especially with with some of the more flamenco techniques. People lose their minds when they see it, when they hear it. It's so effective,
Yeah.
And that's. I remember it was Rodrigo and Gabriella were the ones that sort of brought it to the sort of popular consciousness, I believe.
Yeah.
And the noughties, and you have a relationship with these guys, you know them.
Yeah. After being a fan of them for half of my life, I was eventually wore them down. Basically, kept going to all their shows, and they were my initial like, oh, you can play guitar a different way. That's amazing. Like lots of people have, like Preston Reed or something, or Andy McKee, or all these acoustic players that just were like, oh, that's inventive and creative. I didn't know you could do that. But for me, I was playing classical guitar, and then someone showed me a video of them, and they were playing on classical guitars as well. And I was like, what? They don't play classical music? I don't have to play classical music? Oh my God. Nothing against classical music. Like, I'm a classical musician. But I was just, my mind was blown. And they always are quick to say, we're not doing flamenco. We're not flamenco players at all. They were actually metal players before they did anything acoustically. And they, like, obviously they're Mexican, so they have a lot of Latin influences in their rhythms and all this, but I think they just highly respect flamenco and don't want to offend flamenco players.
Yes.
So I'm kind of the same, but it's when you're talking to someone who isn't a musician or anything and they're like, what kind of guitar do you play? And I'm like, oh, well, the closest that you can associate it with is flamenco. So they get mixed in with that a lot of the time, but but it was definitely like people thought, oh, we can have a wee dance to this and go and see it in a gig rather than you have to go to Spain and sit in a restaurant and watch flamenco players and dancers, and that's the only way you can enjoy a Spanish guitar or a classical nylon guitar. It was, and that just blew my mind. So I went to all their concerts for every time they came to Scotland, or even near Scotland, I would go to see them. So,
I heard some. I listened to a lot of Bullareas. Whenever I had a wee flamenco duo where it wasn't flamenco, it was that again, as you were saying, we plundered the techniques of flamenco in the Flamingo Brothers, and Paddy Anderson, he learned. He took lessons in Granada, in the caves and the gitanos, and he learned. Showed me some of the rumba techniques, but as a result, we listened to a lot. He introduced me to a lot of flamenco, and some of the singers too, the real hardcore stuff. And the Bullareas was like thrash metal. It was like Slayer. And it's at the end of the night, it was fucking brilliant.
Well, I mean, it all kind of works together, all the metal and the rhythm and because that's what, Ron and Gab sort of combined. They're huge metalheads and they love, Megadeth and Metallica and all that. So they do heaps of those riffs when you see them live, and they do covers of Metallica and Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. And
I remember the Orion was one of the famous ones that they did.
They do Orion, they do One, they do
Yeah.
They'd sneak in little like Master of Puppets every now and again.
From but you know, people who know of the Metallica stuff. I mean, you know, you listen to that stuff so much that you know every part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear all those ingredients, you hear them all coming in. You expect to hear certain things, and then but you're still taken by surprise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's great for that. I haven't heard their one cover. I'll have to check that out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do. In fact, they were doing it on Other Voices or something, an Irish TV show.
Yeah.
That they were doing like because they got famous in Ireland. Basically,
Yeah.
they moved all over Europe and
Dublin,
eventually settled in Dublin and were busking and got picked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a live album that they did on that show that they do a version of Orion, I think. Or no, one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's cool.
Why? And you were in Mexico earlier this year.
Yeah.
How long were you there for? What was it like?
I was there for about 2 months.
Yeah.
I go there at the start of every year, just about. That's about the hottest I can handle. It's the coldest time of year. But it's a very long story. But I go to this festival in Cancun every year.
Yeah.
That's run by this singer Brandy Carlisle. And at the same sort of time, I was becoming friends with Rodrigo and Gabriela, and they live on the other side of Mexico. So I was like, many things happened that meant I was like at a loose end in Mexico, and I was like, can I come and hang out in your town? And they were like, yeah. So eventually it's turned into, I go there at the start of the year, and at the third attempt, so it's in this town called Zihuatanejo, which is on the Pacific coast.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen The Shawshank Redemption, but
yeah,
the town he runs away to at the end is Zihuatanejo.
Okay. Right.
So that's why it's like familiar to loads of people. But they have a guitar festival there, and the first time I was in Ziwa, they were telling me, oh, there's this guitar festival, you should play at it. And I was like, oh, well, that'd be cool. And they were like, there's actually someone pulled out, can you play in it next week or something? And I was like, oh, I can't, I've actually got my flights booked home.
Yes.
I've already changed them, and it's all, I can't stay any longer than I've already stayed. So they were like, oh, well, next year then. And I was like, okay. And then the next year, COVID happened.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go. And then they were like, oh, it'll carry over, just come back next year. And I was like, okay. So I came back, and then I arrived, and I was picked up by the airport by my friends, and they said, oh, did you hear the guitar festival was cancelled?
Oh, God.
I was like, no, I didn't hear that. That's why I'm here. So it's quite unnerving. So it transpired I played lots of different gigs instead.
Yeah.
But they were like, next year, come back, and honestly, you'll get to play at it. So this year I finally played at the guitar festival. But that is in March, and the Brandy Carlisle festival is in January. So I have like 2 months where there's no point in flying back to Scotland.
No.
We're already in Mexico. So yeah, I just go to Zihuatanejo, and if Ron and Gab are about and they're not touring, I'll hang out with them and do stuff.
That's the way to do it, you know. Yeah, and you can play smaller places, you know. You can go and play wee gigs, and you know, maybe you get a bit of recording, you just whatever you want, you know. You're over there, and you know. So what's it? You're traveling around on your own then, on the planes and trains and automobiles?
No, it's well, the first time I went was when I had a week to spare I was in California, and I was going to this Cancun festival. So I was like, can I come and hang out in Mexico with you? And they were like, sure. And it's such a long story.
Yeah.
Okay, settle in. Basically, I was playing at NAMM, which is this big sort of
so music gear and guitars and
yeah.
amps and stuff.
Yeah, in the Anaheim Conference Center in California.
Yeah.
I was there for a different thing, but I ended up playing on the Yamaha stage with Gabriella
Yes.
and Alex Skolnick, who's Testament
Oh, yes.
guitarist, among other things. Nathan East, who's like
He was
Eric Clapton's bass
player.
Yeah. And just Daniel Ho, who's this Hawaiian musician who's won millions of Grammys.
Yeah.
And then just me, just like, oh yeah. So that was quite a surreal moment. But anyway, because I was sort of hanging out with Gabriella that week, I was like, can I, hang out in Mexico? And she was like, sure. And then they actually, for the week that I was there, they actually weren't there because they got nominated for a Grammy and they had to go to the Grammys.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So they were like, well, make sure you're taken care of while we're not there. And you can go to our studio and you can record there. And our assistant, Ali Tod, can take care of you. And we'll make sure that you're not, just dotting about by yourself in Mexico, not knowing anybody. So that's what happened. And then... So I went and played in these places and then made friends, and then I was like, I'll come back next year. So that's how it's happened. And now I've got a bunch of people that let me stay with them, and because 2 months is a long time to find accommodation for and pay for, so it's quite handy having some really generous pals that have rooms to spare and go and hang out, and then do some like writing with Gabriella or like performing, and it's just really surreal after being a fan of them forever, and now they're just pals.
Yeah, I suppose it must be like almost a feeling like you're looking down on it from somewhere else.
It's like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm lucky that they're the most generous people. Like some people, they're like never meet your heroes, but they're actually really sound. And I'm just lucky that they're so nice. And generous and kind. So they could have been dickheads, but
and maniacs,
Yeah. But
that's great. It just shows you where music can take you as well.
Yeah, like I end up in these, beautiful houses of my friends, and like in this beautiful Mexican town, and I'm like, I just play the guitar. How did I end up here?
Yeah.
I'm like, I just play the guitar, but.
And so you were, before Rodrigo and Gabriella, you were a classical guitarist, and
Yeah.
were you doing, would you have been putting recitals together and,
Pretty
and
much.
programs and all that sort of thing?
I was actually at college doing classical music. So I was about 17, and this guy in my class recommended Rod and Gab to me, but
yeah.
I was already on the course and I was locked in to do classical guitar at uni after that. So I did classical all through uni, and that was my degree, was classical music.
Yeah.
But and I love classical guitar, but I realised that I'm not destined to be a classical guitar player.
I find it very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, like
you have to be so composed.
Yeah.
When you really have to fucking learn it as well.
And also, frankly, I wasn't that good at it. Like I was all right enough for a uni degree, but
yeah.
There's people who are absolute masters, and it's just not what
Yeah.
I am. And it was sort of like I fell into doing classical because it was just what happened. Like
Yes.
I started playing guitar when I was about 7, and I just asked for a guitar for my Christmas, and I don't know how, but my parents got me like this wee classical guitar.
Yeah.
They're not exactly expensive little £50 classical guitars. And I got lessons, and it was a classical guitar, and I think generally lassies are taught classical. It
Yes.
seems more fitting.
The lady in the parlour,
Yeah.
playing some some Carcassonne on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So I never set out to, I love classical guitar, let's do that. But
Yeah.
that's just what I happened to learn and get taught, and
Yeah.
what I ended up being good enough to go and do at uni. And then since then I've realised that I'm not that type of musician.
I think that what helps
So-
with you, with putting your repertoire together, and also maybe putting your compositions together,
Oh, yeah.
because from learning those pieces you can sort of construct them.
Yeah,
You know.
like I love I'm not crazy about the like Baroque stuff, like
Yeah.
Bach and things like that, but I love all the Latin stuff, and I
Yeah.
really love Barrios and Leo Brouwer and all
Yes.
that kind of thing. And I don't know why I'm like the whitest person ever, but I just really love Latin rhythms and like Latin scales, like Phrygian mode. And
Yeah.
they're like my. I don't know why. That's just what I find.
You can't beat some Phrygian mode,
Yeah.
like.
So that's just where I've ended up taking, but I still play on a classical guitar, and
Yeah.
like one of the tunes I played earlier was like based on a classical piece, and all the harmony and stuff
Yeah.
definitely influences my playing. And my technique isn't classical at all, but I've still got elements of classical technique in me.
Yeah.
And the like discipline to practice and stuff that's not unique to classical music. That's transferable,
Yeah.
So I can apply that to whatever style I want to play, but
It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It just takes so much.
Yeah, it
People
gets
don't
drilled
realise
into
how
you,
much work it takes, like, to really do it. You know?
like 6 hours a day of practice.
Yeah.
Is what I was supposed to do, at least.
Yeah.
Wasn't always super diligent, but I knew that I had to practice a lot, and I still think that applies to my style now. Like, it's not just
I found my electric guitar was for that, just because you had to put so many hours in.
Yeah.
I would sit with it unplugged in front of the
Mhm.
telly, and then nobody would hear what I was doing.
Mhm.
You know, you have to get for that very reason, and then you knowing what to practice, you have to, because it can be very easy just to noodle for decades.
that's the other
like.
thing, like
yeah.
how to practice,
Mhm.
like be really efficient with your practice. That's
Yeah.
something I learned through classical
Yeah.
tuition, rather than, I don't think I would have picked that up by myself. I wouldn't have been recommended books on how
Yeah.
to practice and taught how to practice properly if I didn't do classical guitar. So I'm sure you can find out on your own, but I wouldn't have. I know myself, I would have just been lazy and been like, I'm just going to play this Smoke on the Water riff for the rest of my life,
100%, yeah. Like and my uni, the artists in residence would tell you about that, how critical it is to how to practice effectively.
Mm-hmm.
I read It'll probably be in like I have, the Frederick Node books and the Tune of Days and all the classical. There was one of them was talking about. I think it was one of the books. A famous classical player had to join. He was conscripted to join the army, and he worked out this routine that he could do while he was out on duty. And it goes back to what you're saying about effective practice, that he had to just condense everything down into a really short routine, and he improved his technique through doing that. And he's running about. He wasn't doing much playing there. It's testament to that approach. I noticed too with how long would it take you to develop your pieces?
I'm quite slow with it. I get a lot of writer's block, and the way I end up coming up with stuff is I just play and play and play, and something will come out eventually, and I'll like it, and then I'll knuckle down with that. And I know that if there's something I keep playing over and over, I'm destined to make that a tune,
Yeah.
I don't because when I was at uni, I didn't do composition, or it was history and, practical guitar, and it wasn't writing, but I had to listen to a lot of classical music. So in my head, I'll have an idea of a general structure that I know is the correct formula for a song. Yes. And then that, I don't consciously think that, it's just what happens. But I take a long time to write stuff, I've found.
I hear you on that front. You have things from 15 years ago that are still rattling around there, and
I swear that riff's going to turn into something.
And the audience they see the finished article. When you come on and you play your music, they're hearing the whole thing. They're not seeing the daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. I remember I met a sculptor, and he was saying about, for the first, he starts off with a big block of stone, and for months he's just screaming and bashing it with a hammer, just to get a basic outline of it, and it just shows you,
especially now that I'm trying to add singing and lyrics to stuff. It used to be I could just write a tune and it doesn't have to be about anything.
Now you need an angle.
Now you have to have a theme or what it's about, and it has to match the music. Well, it doesn't have to, but you have to think about it a lot more if you're going to add lyrics. And I don't think my lyrics are brilliant.
It's a bold step in the unknown realm for you then,
I've never dipped my toe into writing lyrics very much before, but I love singing, and I think I'm alright at singing, so I should incorporate singing.
For sure. Well,
so I mean, the more you do it, the better you get at it, like anything else. So
I suppose it'll help elevate, if you've been doing instrumental stuff for a long time, then the audience are not going to expect you to pull out all the vocals,
I think powerful. Last night was the first time I've sang at the Belfast Guitar Fest.
Yeah?
I think it was my fourth time playing at it, third or fourth. I played at Ards once as well, so it gets lost in my memory of how many I've played, but I've never sang at any of them, basically, and I only started writing lyrics in lockdown and stuff, so I think it was finally she's playing something else. She's finally doing something other than that clapping stuff she does.
It's a challenge too with the instrumental stuff, to go in there with just an acoustic guitar and stop traffic, because you could very easily play chords and people would get bored, and you could fall into the nightmarish realm of dinner music, so you have to you have to give them a kick, several kicks. And where are you playing next?
My next thing of guitarness is I do the Edinburgh Guitar Night. So the next one of them is on the 10th of September. And I have it at the Jazz Bar in Edinburgh, which is my favourite venue in Edinburgh. It's just a really cool spot.
Yes.
Good bar, good music every night, and good atmosphere.
Do you run the Edinburgh Guitar Night?
I do. I was actually inspired by the Belfast Guitar Night that Gary Lutton runs.
Yeah.
And I was playing at the Guitar Fest here.
Yeah.
And Chris Woods was also playing that year, and he runs, or ran, I don't know if it's still going, but the London Guitar Night, which I went and played at. And my other pal, Becky Langan, ran the Manchester Guitar Night, which I'm not entirely sure is still going either, but COVID has a lot to answer for.
A hell of a lot.
Yeah, but I was like, well, I'm just going to start one in Scotland, and I live in Edinburgh, so I'm going to start the Edinburgh Guitar Night. And it was to like give a suitable platform for guitarists to play at, because there's all kinds of things for singer-songwriters. You can go and do a gig and people know what they're going for, and bands, obviously, they know what they're doing, there's space for them, but there seemed to be, I always felt like if I went to play at like an open mic or something, I was this weird novelty act when it was all these people singing Radiohead, and I'd be like slapping the shit out of my guitar.
Do you know, I don't know what you mean there, because for a while I was doing some, those arrangements, and I felt like that joke, I feel like I'm doing donuts in a Ford Fiesta when I go down there, and that's it, although the good thing about the open mic nights, sometimes you'll get poets and comedians and stuff, and I feel sorry for the comedians, because it's nobody realises how hard. I mean, you have to go up there and bomb for 3 years before you get a laugh,
Well, that's the thing. Like, I didn't have any guitar nights or guitar festivals when I was not good enough to play at a guitar fest when I started, doing my slappy percussive guitar stuff. So I'd go open mics and play, and that's where I learned how to like stagecraft and how to get people going and all that sort of stuff. I was a classical musician, so I didn't even know like about gear. Like, I didn't know what an XLR was, I didn't know what a DI was, I didn't know any of that stuff at all. You sit in your practice room and you learn that just that wee bit, whereas performance you have to go out and do it as much as possible too, just to get used to, as you said, all the stagecraft and interacting with people, So it's a definite like trial by fire situation, but if you get a taste of people like, oh, it was really good, then you're like, oh, I'll go again next week, and I'll write something that I know will get people going next week, and that's the beauty of an open mic. And I met so many people that I still gig with that I first met at open mics in Edinburgh, and it's a great way to blood yourself into a music scene, and then after that, even if you just want to play open mics forever, because they're really good fun and you meet loads of people, that's fine. But it could be a springboard for loads of stuff, and it certainly was for me. And
you meet so many people too,
you meet so many. I've met so many of my friends through an open mic, but it still wasn't the like platform that I felt, my guitar stuff suited. And then when there was the guitar fest that I played at here, I was like, oh, okay, guitar festivals, that's a good idea, and I'll do something similar in Edinburgh. And now, like, basically it's just any style, as long as it's guitar centric. It's somewhere for people to perform stuff that's been written to be listened to.
It can be a hard fit for, especially when you play guitar, people maybe think in terms of sections in record shops, and you have to be, you have to try and sort of squeeze yourself into a genre or a vibe or whatever, so with a guitar, it's just the strings, you just go on,
and that's the thing about guitar is it's like the most versatile instrument in the world. It can play every style you can think of, just about, apart from maybe like Indonesian gamelan, but I can play, like, I've had jazz guitarists, I've had classical guitarists, I've had electric, shredding guitarists. I've had fingerstyle. I've had banjo. I've had
Yeah.
like my stuff. I've had so many different styles of guitar, and I think it's, oh yeah, the guitar is capable of all these things, and they'll be in the same night even.
Yeah.
Like I've had one night I had fingerstyle and a classical duo and a percussive fingerstyle player at the same time. I had a jazz guitarist and a classical guitarist in the same night. And he even had like a piper with him.
Wow.
And I've had, lap steel and like every kind of guitar under the sun. So there's kind of, you want to create the environment that a guitarist will want to come and play at it, because they're like, oh, I do this weird kind of guitar that no one ever listens to.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's showing off the guitar. Come and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the space for you. So, yeah.
Awesome. every week, and we'll just jam every week from here till genre wise, and you kind of just got to figure out what.
It's tough when you like a lot of things, and it's like, oh well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself, but
No.
At the same time, it's like you have eventually you have to pick something.
Yeah. I mean, you could, if you did Mr. Big in one song and then Tony Bennett in the next, it would be a weird one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in a lot of different like groups and styles, but they're all kind of separate from each other. So I have my fix of each style and everything. Like, I love funk music and I'm in a funk band, but I think there's elements of that in my tunes. Like, I love a riff and I love a cool like rhythm, but I wouldn't call my stuff funk.
You can hear it though when it comes through in the grooves, you know. AER amps are great, aren't they?
They're so good.
Aren't they the best?
It sounds crystal clear. And beautiful.
You could play them and you could carry them
anywhere. And they sound good.
Exactly. for Spielberg's Tritone. Sorry.
You were like, let's go!
You ready for happy hardcore?
Sure.
Beautiful.